In episode 67, Close Criteria and Administrative Closure, we explore how projects and risks reach a disciplined end. Closure is not about declaring completion, it is about proving it. Many teams stop tracking a risk once effort fades, but genuine closure requires deliberate evidence that conditions are stable and exposure has returned to acceptable levels. This step protects integrity and credibility. A clean finish demonstrates professionalism and ensures that no unfinished details quietly linger. In mature risk management, closure is less about relief and more about verification, a calm, structured confirmation that commitments have been fulfilled and learning captured. The process begins long before the end, with closure evidence defined at the start. Each risk should include specific criteria describing what done looks like. These might include metrics back within target, control tests passed, or stakeholder acceptance confirmed. By defining evidence early, teams avoid arguments later about whether a risk is truly closed. It transforms closure from subjective debate into objective demonstration. Planning evidence in advance also guides data collection along the way, ensuring that information exists to support decisions. This foresight makes closure efficient rather than a scramble for proof. Objective thresholds form the backbone of closure readiness. A risk can only be considered resolved when its indicators return to acceptable ranges and stay there. For instance, if delivery delays fall back under tolerance for 3 consecutive cycles, or if vulnerability scans remain clear over multiple assessments, evidence suggests stability. Objective thresholds convert intuition into measurable confidence. They also support transparency. Everyone can see why a decision was made. Objective closure protects against premature celebration and reinforces a culture of evidence-based management rather than anecdotal satisfaction. Verifying that actions were fully implemented bridges the gap between plan and performance. Too often, completion is assumed once paperwork is filed or meetings end. Verification requires independent confirmation that each mitigation or control actually functions as intended. This might involve testing, audit checks, or operational walkthroughs. Verification is the proof that execution matched promise. Without it, closure remains a theory. Verifying actions protects against gaps between procedure and practice, ensuring that the organization closes not just on paper, but in operational fact. This validation step transforms closure from administrative exercise into demonstrated assurance. Residual risk must be checked against appetite limits before closure proceeds. Even successful mitigations may leave a remnant of exposure. Comparing that remainder to defined appetite ensures alignment between project and enterprise tolerance. If residual levels still exceed thresholds, closure must pause until further reduction or formal acceptance occurs. This step aligns local actions with organizational governance. It reinforces the principle that only the organization, not individuals, decides what risk it is willing to carry forward. Confirming residual compliance prevents silent acceptance of unapproved exposure, a subtle but common governance breakdown. Secondary risks also require validation. Responses can spawn new uncertainties, and closure must ensure that none remain active. Teams should revisit earlier analyses to confirm that secondary items have been resolved, transferred, or absorbed into other monitoring frameworks. Leaving secondary risks unaddressed undermines closure integrity. Verification involves checking both registers and discussion notes for lingering dependencies. When all secondary threads are tied off, closure becomes complete. This diligence prevents surprises later, issues that resurface because their roots were ignored during finalization. Comprehensive review transforms the end of one cycle into a clean foundation for the next. Stakeholder sign-off formalizes the decision to close. Each closure should specify who approves and how that approval is recorded. Typically, this includes the risk owner, project manager, sponsor, and sometimes a governance committee. Sign-off ensures shared understanding that closure is justified and that no party later claims ignorance. The act of approval also reinforces accountability. If evidence later proves incomplete, signatures show where judgment was applied. Consistent sign-off processes sustain trust, signaling that closure decisions are deliberate, transparent, and defensible. The record of agreement becomes as important as the data behind it. Documentation transforms closure from conversation into record. Each item should include summary notes, evidence attachments, and the official approval record. Documentation provides traceability for audits and continuity for future teams. It ensures that even after turnover or transition, the rationale behind closure remains clear. Attachments might include test results, acceptance emails, or performance reports. Well-organized closure packages become learning tools, not just compliance artifacts. They remind the organization how confirmation looked and why it was deemed sufficient, creating templates for faster, cleaner closure in subsequent cycles. Administrative accuracy matters. Once closure is approved, systems must reflect it. Status fields change from active to closed. Closure dates and responsible parties are entered. Registers, dashboards, and summaries should all update to show the new state. Consistency avoids confusion and prevents dormant risks from appearing live in reports. These simple administrative steps carry disproportionate importance. They signal reliability. Stakeholders know they can trust the data because status reflects reality. Clean data strengthens analytics and improves future decision-making, linking good housekeeping directly to operational confidence. Sunsetting monitoring is the next step. Once a risk is closed, its alerts and triggers should be disabled or reassigned. Continuing to monitor a fully mitigated risk wastes attention and risks alert fatigue. However, sunset should be deliberate, following confirmation that no dependencies remain. This transition marks the shift of vigilance to other priorities. By removing obsolete alerts, teams preserve system clarity and focus. It is the digital equivalent of closing a file drawer after confirming its contents are settled, tidy, confident, and organized for the next challenge. Every closure should capture lessons and improvement items. What worked? What delayed progress? Which indicators proved most predictive? Reflection turns experience into institutional knowledge. Capturing these insights can refine templates, improve response speed, and enhance calibration. Lessons learned are not optional add-ons. They are the return on investment for effort already spent. When consistently recorded, they transform closure from finality into renewal, feeding forward to strengthen future planning. Each completed risk thus becomes a teacher for the next, ensuring that effort compounds rather than resets with every project cycle. Archiving brings structure and longevity to the record. Closed risks and supporting documents should be stored according to the organization's retention policy. Archival discipline ensures accessibility for audits, future reference, and regulatory defense. Retention periods balance utility with privacy and storage constraints. Properly archived closures allow teams to trace lineage, compare historical events, and demonstrate diligence under scrutiny. They also prevent clutter in active systems, keeping focus on current risks. Archiving, done right, preserves the organization's collective memory while maintaining operational efficiency and compliance. Despite best efforts, conditions can change. A reopen protocol provides agility when closed risks resurface. This protocol should specify how new evidence triggers reevaluation, who authorizes reopening, and how historical data is reinstated. Reopening is not failure, it is vigilance. It shows that the organization values accuracy over appearance. Documented protocols make reopening predictable rather than ad hoc. They maintain integrity by ensuring that no risk stays closed simply because it once was. In a dynamic environment, the ability to reopen confidently reflects strength, not instability. Closure is the quiet proof of competence. It transforms work into credibility. Finishing deliberately rather than loosely ensures that every action finds completion, every residual finds verification, and every stakeholder finds clarity. Clean closure strengthens trust, internally through accountability and externally through transparency. It confirms that the organization not only manages uncertainty, but concludes it with confidence and care. In the rhythm of risk management, closure is not the fade-out of attention, but the full stop of assurance. The signature of discipline that sustains resilience long after the project ends. Thanks for listening. For more audio courses, daily newsletters, and more, please visit BareMetalCyber.com.